powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. So here we are at Redmond 2021, an online national conference based on the theme Innovations using Computational Intelligence, a Global Perspective. I, Rahul Sharma, a student of Department of Information Technology, would heartily like to welcome our keynote speakers for the event, Dr. Karan Saxena sir, SAPI Vidisha, and Dr. Bharat Singh, Triple IT Ranchi. Dr. Arun Kumar sir, Director PMP Group, Dr. M.K. Gupta sir, Principal PMP Group, Dr. Annie Thomas ma'am, Head of Department of Information Technology, Dr. Jyoti Pillai ma'am, Organizing Secretary, Department of Information Technology, Mr. Amit Biswas, Department of Computer Applications, and respective faculty members and presenters. Being a part of Idea Lab initiative by AICTE, this online conference aims at exploring multidisciplinary research ideas in science, engineering, and management through innovative research. Any auspicious occasion cannot set about without offering prayers to Ma Saraswati. So I would like to request Soumya, Trisha, and Ekta to present Saraswati Vandana. I would also like to request our respected dignitaries to kindly light up the lamp.
Saraswati Sharade, Ma Saraswati Sharade, Purna Jnana Se, Purna Jnana Se, Veena Vani Tarde, Tarde, Tarde. Ma Saraswati Sharade, Ma Saraswati Sharade, Purnes Jnanudati Se, Purnes Jnanudati Se, Veena Vani Tarde, Tarde, Tarde. Ma Saraswati Sharade, Ma Saraswati Sharade.
Spotlight. Moving ahead, I would like to kindly request Dr. Annie Thomas ma'am, Head of Department, Information Technology, to address this session. And I would like to request Noemita Mane, Service and IT, to welcome Annie Thomas.
Respected teachers, my dear students, this conference is the first initiative where IT and MCA collaborates for a new venture. It has been in the previous years, IT has been conducting Bitcoin conferences and MCA separately, but this time both the departments have joined hands to do this conference together, and the preparations has been wonderful. For the journey will be also wonderful. Research in a single topic may span many years. Hence, it is said the time will come when diligent research over long periods will bring to light things which now lie hidden. A single lifetime, even though entirely devoted to the sky, would not be enough for the investigation of so vast a subject. And so, this knowledge will be unfolded only through long successive ages. This is the answer to why Bitcoin or other conferences are held every year. So, every year we have a continuum of thought process, igniting and sparking new ideas for technological advances. The topic for today's conference is online innovations in computational intelligence. When we were discussing about the topic, the reason why this was chosen was why online innovations has been added is due to the pandemic situation that arose in the last 2 years. We have been suffering through this pandemic, and everyone knows that there were limited solutions for this. And in the education sector, in the academia, there has been a discussion that there needs to be so many innovations done so that we can get along with such pandemics in near future. So the applications, whichever you make, the IT projects and MCA students are also developing such good projects. But what should be the motto of those projects, those papers which they are writing in an innovative manner? What should be the criteria? That only should be for the betterment of the society. When you say you are creating a new IT project, what should be the end result? It should be that it contributes somewhere to the betterment of the society, the functioning of the society. So the aim should be, final aim should be that you are focusing on making all the innovations related to the society. And we know in the field of medicine, in the field of IT, in the field of transportation, everywhere this innovation needs to be done, because we have to handle many new situations in the coming years. The teachers have done an excellent job in organizing and conducting. My special thanks to Jyoti Pillai ma'am and Amit Vishwas sir, who have been toiling hard to organize this conference. And all the teachers of IT and MCA, they also have been part of some or the other event in this program. The students are also giving their paper presentation in this conference. That is one of the success we find in this conference we organize every year. That is because the students, they are getting the platform to give their ideas, to write their ideas. And for the students, I'd like to say the secret of getting ahead is starting. The secret of getting started is breaking your tasks into smaller manageable tasks and then starting with the first one. Whenever we start a project or we start on some innovative ideas, we should not think of something very big. Divide it into smaller parts and start with the first small one. You will be able to succeed in making those projects. And I'm also happy to have the volunteers, students of IT and MCA who have been working there behind the scene from yesterday onwards. They are working hard so that this program can become a success. At the end, I'd like to quote the words, "I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, and that hope always triumphs over experience. Thank you all, and hoping the best of imaginations to come true in the near future. Also, I would like to welcome the keynote speakers. We have two keynote speakers for today, and we have two session chairs for today and tomorrow. I'd like to welcome them to this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us. Moving ahead, I would like to request Dr. M.K. Gupta sir, Principal, VIT, to address the session.
Tell you about our institute in brief. A very good morning to all of you. It is my pleasure to welcome you in the inaugural session of the National Conference FETCON 2021, organized by Reliance for Technology Group in online learning. To provide a platform to the researchers to showcase their research findings, we organize FETCON every year on themes of national importance. Let me first tell you about our institute in brief. Reliance Institute of Technology was initiated by notable stalwarts of Central India in 1986 with a vision of becoming premier technical and educational institutions in the country. Currently, 7 of our undergraduate programs are accredited by National Board of Accreditation. This accreditation gives the UG degree a worldwide recognition. From this session, we have got the approval from AICTE to start 2 new undergraduate programs, CSE Data Science and CSE Artificial Intelligence, with an intake of 60 seats in each course. In the AICTE Margdarshan scheme, the institute is mentoring 10 technical institutions of the state to encourage best practices. Our institute has obtained A-grade accreditation by National Assessment and Accreditation Council 9. We have the honor of becoming the first technical institute in the state to be conferred autonomous status by University Grants Commission in 2020. Our scheme of teaching and examination is in line with AICTE model curriculum. VIT campus has a conducive and supportive academic ambience, facilitating high quality education and research for more than 4,000 students at bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. The institute rewards those faculty members who publish research papers in Scopus and SCI Index journals. We strongly believe that innovative ideas and research initiates at the intersection of various disciplines. Accordingly, the theme for this year's conference is multidisciplinary research idea in science, engineering, and management. Our faculty members have received grant of rupees 23 lakhs from AICTE under research promotion scheme. Institute received AICTE Idea Lab for promoting innovation. Institute shall be receiving a grant of rupees 45.43 lakhs for this year. Under the umbrella of Idea Lab, students and faculty members will have an opportunity to work on interdisciplinary projects, as all the facilities will be available to them under one roof 24/7. This online conference, FETCON 2021, will make an honest attempt to meet the expectations of the nation and will throw some light on possible indigenous solutions to combat post-COVID-19 challenges as well. Several quality research papers will be presented in various departments during this conference. It is proposed to send selected papers of FETCON 2021 for publication in reputed journals after further review. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. We have received extensive number of papers from academicians all over the country, and the best of them have been selected for this conference. We would like to congratulate everyone on unveiling of the FETCON 2021 proceedings. With this, we come to an end of the inaugural ceremony. To take the proceedings further ahead, I would like to hand over the mic to you.
Thank you, Rahul. To unveiling of the proceedings. Unveiling of the proceedings.
I would like to congratulate everyone on unveiling of the FedCon 2021 proceeding.
मैम ऐसे इस तरीके से हाँ
मैडम
Yes, but that is.
Sir, unveiling.
Sir, please आइए.
Sir, I am sir. Unveiling कर लेते हैं.
We have with us Dr. M.P. Gupta sir, Principal PIT. Continue. सब ठीक चल रहा है.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely, sir. With this, we come to the end of the complete ceremony. To take the proceedings further ahead, I would like to hand over the mic to us.
Thank you, Rahul. To move further ahead in the day, I would like to formally invite our first keynote speaker, Vivek National, that Madam Joy King. There is a little delay with the proceedings. In the meantime, I would like to brief a little about computational intelligence. Computational intelligence, CI, is the theory. Computational intelligence, CI, is the theory, design, application, and development of biological and linguistically motivated computational paradigms. Traditionally, the three main pillars of CI have been neural networks, fuzzy systems, and evolutionary computation. However, in the time, many major inspired computing paradigms have evolved. Thus, CI is an evolving field, and at present, in addition to the three main constituents, it encompasses computing paradigms like ambient intelligence, artificial life, cultural learning, artificial endocrine networks, social reasoning, and artificial hormone networks. CI plays a major role in developing successful intelligence systems, including games and cognitive development systems. Over the past few years, there has been an explosion of research on deep learning, in particular, deep convolutional neural networks. Nowadays, deep learning has become the core method of artificial intelligence. In fact, some of the most successful AI systems are based on CI. The expression computational intelligence usually refers to the ability of a computer to learn a specific task from data or experimental observation. Even though it is commonly considered a synonym of soft computing, there is still no commonly accepted definition of computational intelligence. Generally, computational intelligence is a set of nature-inspired computational methodologies and approaches to address complex real-world problems to which mathematical and traditional modeling can be used as for few reasons. Those can be processes might be too complex for mathematical reasoning. It might contain some uncertainties during the process, or the process might simply be stochastic in nature. Indeed, many real-life problems can be translated into binary language, that is, zeros and ones, for computers to process. Computational intelligence, therefore, provides solutions for such problems. The methods are close to humans' way of reasoning. That is, it uses inexact and incomplete knowledge, and it is able to produce control actions in an adaptive way. CI therefore uses a combination of 5 main complementary techniques, as I said earlier. It takes 5 main complementary techniques: the fuzzy logic, which enables the computer to understand natural language; artificial neural networks, which permit the system to learn experimental data by operating like the biological mind; evolutionary computing, which is based on the process of natural selection; learning theory; and probabilistic methods, which help dealing with uncertain expressions. Except those main principles currently popular approaches, including biologically inspired algorithms such as swarm intelligence and artificial immune systems, which can be seen as a part of evolutionary computation, image processing, data mining, natural language processing, and artificial intelligence, which tends to be confused with computational intelligence. But although both CI and AI seek similar goals, there is a clear distinction between them. Computational intelligence is thus a way of performing like human beings. Indeed, the characteristics of intelligence is usually attributed to humans. More recently, many products and items also claim to be intelligent, an attribute which is directly linked to reasoning and decision making. That will be all. Thank you.
I'll get it. मैं सुपर पहला बार
Myself, Nash Kumar Chodkar, a software professional, currently working as software architect in our India Private Limited company. It's located in Nash. Today I'm going to talk about the paper that I have submitted for Bitcoin 2021 conference. The title of the paper is Automated Remote Access Techniques for Remote Software Access. So, I'm going to present a few slides and talk through about this paper. Here is the title. So let's go on the slides. So first of all, what does remote access mean, right? And what is the use case and need for these remote access techniques? So in this paper, when I say remote access, what does that mean is any software applications running remotely, right? Not in your local network, but over internet or somewhere, right? Then someone has to go and fix something. Then one way is someone manually goes to that location and access that software application through the console, Windows console or Linux console, and then work on it. But that will require a human to go there and so it's a traveling cost plus assigning a human to do some tasks. You have to hire some persons to do some maintenance and so instead of that, if we can automatically remotely access the device and perform the operation. That's what I'm recommending as a remote access. So let's go through some use cases. So some of the use cases that I have mentioned here is like a software application server. Let's say you have first a website, right, or some kind of like Amazon web servers that they are running. So software application server needs to be patched which keys business critical for an automated to connect and apply security patch as soon as possible. So this software application could also be, let's say for example, this DTH boxes, right? The Tata Sky or Videocon DTH. These are all also software related applications, right? So they are operated by some software formed into that hardware platform, and that is shipped as a DTH box to you as well. So let's say there is a security vulnerability for the operating system on which these softwares are built. So what do you do? You have many persons, technicians moving into each of and customers' location and then fixing that. All right, you need something to automatically connect to that all DTH access and fix that, right? So that's what I mean by remote access. And then another example is, let's say the Flipkart or Amazon website is running and somehow that this space got full, right? Because at each of these applications they do write various logs and preserve files. So because I'm from the software industry, I know that sometimes it happens that the disk space gets filled with a lot of log files. So again, in that case also, we should have ability to remotely connect to the device, clear up the logs, and then restart the application. So it will save business cost of manually hiring a person and sending it to each location for this clearing. So I hope you would have understood what you are doing with access and these use cases. Give some sense on that. So what we are saying is for all such use cases to automate the operation, we need a program to do it. Right? We don't want to send human or some manual operation. So in this paper, we talk about some protocols and techniques that is currently available in the software industry. So like remote access over SSH protocol, this protocol, there's a Windows Box, then remote management protocol, and then a new technology which is right now gaining this popularity is robotic process automation, popular levels. So remote access over SSH. So I think SSH will be what who is working in Linux organization. They all will know SSH closed shell protocol. It's the CLI based protocol where you can access any software and perform any administrative operations. So by the way, this SSH protocol is not SSH servers you can install in Windows machine as well, and then this SSH protocol. So even though we all see that it's a Linux, but in Windows also SSH protocol is server. So in this left hand side, I have given an example of Java library.
I would like to cordially invite our first keynote speaker, Dr. Kanak Saxena ma'am, SATI, to share her stance on data science, software engineering, and healthcare. Dr. Saxena is a professor of computer science and information technology at Samrat Ashoka Technological Institute, Vilisha. with over 100 research papers published in various journals and conferences across the world. Dr. Kanak Saxena is currently working on a research on uncertain reasoning framework for data mining. Ma'am, I am personally very thrilled to invite you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot. I'm really thankful to Dr. Anil ji, Jyoti ji, and Amit ji for inviting me on the BitCon 2021, which is based on the online innovations using computational intelligence, a global perspectives. I am really privileged to have address the audience, and of course, I want to have focus on the technologies which is having impact on the COVID period, and how the enhancement actually come up with the pandemic era and concerns with relations to the COVID concepts. Just a moment, sir. Sorry for interruptions. Just I want to the screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I'm not getting your voice, so it's not yet clear that whether I am in the sequence of presenting or some other visuals has to be done.
No. Can start.
Yes,
We are
ma'am.
waiting for a presentation now.
Okay. So means I am in tech. Okay. So my today's presentation's topic is the technology's impact on the COVID-19. One thing what we have found in the concepts related with the pandemic era, that the first wave is not so harmful if I compare with the second wave. Though we have certain problems arises in the second wave too, that is somewhere the shortage of the oxygen, that means somewhere the shortages of the resources are there. Sometimes it's not be a possibility that we can able to predict something which is not actually pointed out that how it can be get performed. So basically, what are the basic roles of technologies? So the personally, I can understand, being somewhat researchers in the healthcare domain too, that the role to understand the nature of the virus is very, very. Am I audible?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
getting a lot of the voices. I don't able to understand whether.
Ma'am, your voice is very clear.
Okay, thank you.
And we welcomed you in the inaugural session. You were not there at that time.
Yeah.
We are able to hear you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So the first thing is that we have to understand the nature of the virus, as it is a new virus in the world, in the universe, so nobody knows its behavior also. So right now, what type of the mutations it's taking places, nobody is aware about the things. And somewhere the problem arises, a person who is already suffering from certain diseases and certain medications are going on, no one can able to understand that what is the impact of this virus on the persons who is already having or suffering from certain problems. So one thing which is very important to understand its behavior with presence of the other diseases. This is very important. Second thing is that once the understanding is somewhat done, then how one can able to detect that this is the due to virus, or this is actually diagnosed due to the concepts due to the virus here. So second problem is that detecting and diagnosing the virus Third is how one can able to predict, and some study is predicted, then how one can able to prevent it. If it is prevented, then how one can able to slow it down. So slowing the effect of the virus is also concerns with the other diseases present in the human being. Next comes out to be the responding to the health crisis due to the informations and the learning. Because in the second wave, we find it out that the people become so casual. They don't able to follow the guidelines of the COVID, which is issued from the authorities time to time. So sometimes that may be also a problem, that though they are knowledgeable, though they have certain informations, but they don't able to predict it. So somewhere the learning factor is also behind their perceptions. And the last one is there, that is the monitoring the recovery and improving early warning tools. Somewhere the monitoring is very important, that which particular patients or the effectors required what sort of the monitoring process. It might be a possibility that due to the lack of the oxygen, everybody is trying to get the oxygen. A patient who doesn't require the oxygen is also running behind it. A person who doesn't require certain injections, they are running about it. So sometimes it may be a possibility that what type of the recovery techniques are required. And this is not possible in the case when only one expert or two experts are present, because somewhere the focus is on one concept, not onto the other one. So in generality, what I can say or what I understood is that the entire data which I am receiving for any research purpose, that is skewed to some of the problems, not the overall concept. And once the overall concept is neglected there, then the problem arises with the number of the mortality rate hike in the second wave. And there comes the existence of the technology, where it plays an important role, that how they can keep a track on each and every symptoms or the signs which is occurring in the patients. For example, just giving an example, for the recovery purpose, most of the time steroids to be provided to the patients, and there is a direct effect of the steroid, is that the hike in the blood sugars. But one cannot able to manage the thing, that we have to check the blood sugar simultaneously, and we have to give the medications to control it. And sometimes the problem arises, the sugar hike a lot, and of course the conditions, either it's too severe or the person is no more. So that is actually the results occurred in the cases of the COVID, especially in the second wave. So these are the general roles. Beside these roles, we have the certain roles also. We will discuss this later on also, that what are the other roles of the technology which plays an important role in the recovery process. So for the prerequisite, I just took here the AI as one of the technique, but this AI is actually having a combination of the entire, your deep learning will be there, machine learning will be there, statistical learning will be there. So these all concepts combinedly are used to as termed as an AI, because understanding is also one of the phase, natural language processing is also one of the phase. So club or combinedly, I termed it as an AI. So the policymaker facilitate should encourage the sharing of the medical, molecular, and scientific data sets. We all are aware about the things that we are somewhere lacking in the data sets. And when we don't have the proper data sets, it's very, very difficult for all of us to have the predictive analytics. We can, on the basis of that particular data, we can only analyze the things, but we cannot able to predict it. We cannot able to take certain decisions that what will happen in the futures. This will be only occur in the case when we have the proper data sets. So somewhere the problem arises that we don't have the sharing of the informations. And on the one hand, we want that sharing, and on the other hand, we are somewhere stuck of the perception that I don't want to share my medical details. So that is also one of the case where the problem arises. So one should have the encouragement for sharing certain data, and especially in the case of the COVID. Then the AI researchers built effective tools for the medical community. Nowadays, we all are very much familiar that everything, even for performing a test also, we required a certain software. And whatever be the results that software provide to us, the experts rely on that point. So naturally, we are trying to develop the effective tools there. Then comes the ensure that the researchers has access to the necessary computing capacity. We have certain normal algorithms with us. We are designing or we are either modifying those things, but somewhere we have lack of the resources. So we want that computing speed must be there with the certain resources available, so that if I am having a direct connectivity with the patients and that resource, I can able to perform more efficiently, more optimality about that algorithm. And how one can able to realize the full promise of the AI to combat this COVID-19. The first thing is that the policy makers must ensure that the AI systems are trustworthy. That is the only reason we are not so much confident to share the data. Then comes out to be the second then comes out that they should respect the human rights and privacy. It should be transparent, explainable, robust, secure, safe, and should remain the accountable. If these things are present with respect to any of the patients and the hospital or the taker providers, of course, we will not have shy in sharing the data. So these are the prerequisites which is required in the cases of using the technologies, and especially when data to be get shared. This is actually the four ways where the technologies plays an important role. One is the recovery, response, prevention, and the detection is there. Detection means we were really interested for the early warning and the diagnosis. Prevention, we predict something, then we monitor something, and on the basis of those informations which I obtained, is actually needs a certain decision. What sort of the responses we are taking, that means what sort of the decisions we are taking, and that decisions will affect not only the person, but it has to be completely monitored and took in terms of the society also. That means some certain service automations will be there. And then last one comes out to be the recovery. That is actually the monitoring process is there. So this is actually how the technology plays their role in the four different ways. One is the recovery, response, prevention, and the detection. In the case of the recovery, at the last, I will also tell you that one more important factor comes with relations with the recovery. Then accelerating research using the AI, that's what in the previous slide already I told you, the major important property or the important role is that for the technique is the how one can able to preventions will be there. And important thing is that the predictive, that means how I can able to forecast and how I can able to predict the future in relations to the COVID or in relations to the pandemic era. Like in this particular slide, we are much more focusing on only the patients. That means on the alignments with how we are having. But on contrary of this thing, the technology also plays a role in the other fields also, to predict, to forecast the economy also, the other different ill effects of this online classes, online seminars, and whatever be there. So we have a second other alternative, or the second world is also there, where the technologies plays an important role. But of course, in this presentation, I will be only concentrating with the health properties or the healthcare concepts. Then detections, diagnosis, prevent the spread of the coronavirus, mining mainstream news, online contents, other information with the early warnings, healthcare networks, and the data flow. These all things gets relates with the data. And if the data is skewed, the meaning of the skewed is that if it is aligned only onto the one particular part, but it is not giving any sort of the concepts with the second part of your health information, then the actual decision making fails over there. So AI tools can help identify virus transmission chains as well as monitor broader economic impacts also. This is what just try to identify the things. Then the rapid diagnosis. This is very important. Infection and understand the disease spread, image and the symptoms data, and collecting data representative of the whole population to ensure scalability and the accuracy. This is very, very important, where again, important vital involvement of the technology for the rapid diagnosis. And we all are aware, if the things gets proper timely diagnosis, we can able not to save the person, but we can able to save the society also. This I will come up with the other ones. The thing which I want to tell you right now is the data sharing is there, which is very, very important, which we have already discussed earlier also. But what the problem arises if the data is not properly shared? Lack of the trust is the main issue. Then lack of the data sharing results in an algorithm that disparately impacts different communities. And what are the reasons for the existing disparities between the large participations of some group in health research studies, but their reluctance to consent to sharing the data? Actually, this is only the part where we people are somewhere lacking for it. And for that, we come to one case, that is how the contact can be get traced. You all might have find it out that before entering to the institutions or to the organizations, everybody is telling to us to download the Arogya Setu app. And if we are downloading the Arogya Setu app, then how one can able to find it out if any of the effective person is within our premises, that means within a specified area or not. So this is how one can able to find it out by the help of the informations which is transmitting from one mobile to the other mobile. And we are having a sort of in a hub where complete for previous 14 days data is collected. And if anybody or any person gets positive, its text gets positive, they will just check on its beacons 14 days data and then try to find out that how long a person is in contact with the affected person. And that particular system gives us that how much probability of the contacted person is having of COVID positive or not. And actually, these are the top 9 healthcare technologies where the technology plays important role. And this I took from the analytics steps, the artificial intelligence. Second one is the blockchain, voice search, chatbots in the healthcare, virtual reality in the healthcare, advanced social media, personalized mobile apps, video marketing, and the last one is the partnership with the other popular mobile apps. The two important things are very, very important: artificial intelligence and the blockchain. These are the two main things. And now this is what I want to actually cover up in this presentation, because we all know that this COVID, that is virus, is somewhere harming our respiratory system. And this slide gives you just an impact that really in world, what is the second highest disease which is actually affecting the persons or the community. First one is no doubt your heart disease, that is the cardiovascular disease, and the second one is the respiratory epidemic is there. And this is actually the point which is not easily learnt by the patients itself, because every time somebody feels the breathlessness, it's automatically an institution that okay, somebody is suffering from the heart disease. They first go to the cardiovascular experts, they just undergo certain tests and found there is no problem with their heart. Nobody is having a diversions with the lungs concepts. So that is a major problem arises with the respiratory, why this disease is growing so high. And this disease is, I cannot say that this disease is only for the child or for the teenagers or for the adolescents. It's maybe for anyone. So we don't have any sort of the restrictions that this will be always, you will find out in these communities or these areas. But of course, there are the certain factors which are affecting to the respiratory systems. So this is just one of the slide. I think you all have read it out, that how these things are impacting and disorders. Even if you can go on to the second last, in US, 6.8 million in 2010 disorder is under the age of the 18. So one can able to understand that how chronic this disease is there. So now a second concept where an important role with the cognitive model presents there. And these all, there is one framework which is designed by, or we can, I can say that I developed that framework for the respiratory system, where the different technologies have their own important functions, and those functionalities somehow extract that how a patient suffers from these things. So cognitive model is actually consisting of the data warehouse, data farming is also there, data mining is there, learning is there, testing is there, and of course at last we have to take the decision. We all are familiar with the concepts of the data warehouse, but the data farming is that we have to start certain predictions with respect to the seeds. As what happens in our crops, we have the best seeds is there, the much yield is there. The same thing happens if I can able to choose the proper data as a seed data, and then it can be grown up with respect to farming different steps of those data. Naturally we will be able to predict certain important things there. Data mining, of course, certain hidden patterns are there, and what are those access points. To extract those access points is very important to analyze the hidden data, and that can be done by the help of the data mining. How one can able to learn up the things, we have the different kinds of the learning mechanism, that is the machine as well as the deep is there, depends upon the criteria where we have to perform these things. Then we have the unsupervised training, supervised training, and the expertise. Because what happens in the case of the medical era, we don't have the standard format, and we cannot have a standard form that every patient has to fill up that particular form. When a patient goes to the experts, that means to the doctors or the specialized medical professionals, the way they people are narrate their problems is sometimes difficult for the experts also to understand. But if a local doctor is there, or if a local patient comes over there, the communication can be easily understood by the experts, which is delivered from the patients. That means input can be get converted to a standard format. So that moment we have the unsupervised type of a learning, and from the unsupervised type of a learning we have to find it out what are the keywords. So for the predictions also, for predictive analytics also, we have to find it out that of course though we have certain process where we can apply, for example, the regression techniques or the classifications techniques with respect to the supervised. So what we have to do, we have to undergo the processing of the unsupervised, convert those unsupervised into the supervised manner, and then those supervised can be popped with the supervised with the other process or the methodologies. So we have must a sort of in a hybrid forms there, where we can able to perform certain learning process. Then of course the testing is there. You can find it out that is medical testing is there, and one is the psychology testing is also there, which is very, very important. And why it is important will be discussed in this lecture later on. And the last thing which is very important is to take the decision, that is the further improvement is required or not. So this is actually the cognitive model. This is unstructured and the structured concepts, that how one can able to cover it up. What type of the methodologies are required? So for the cognitive computing process, there are the three different type of the methodologies. One is the Federate, second one is the cluster, And then last one comes out to be the automate summarize. Federate means you have to find out the access points. The meaning of the access point tells us that what is the point or what are the points which actually somewhere accelerating the any disease. Those are the access points. Those access points are my inputs. Those inputs are actually either relates from my body, that means internal as well as the external. Somewhere external environment is also affecting my internal problems or internal access point. So that extractions of those access point is very important. Those extractions might be somewhere having an informations either for the machine learning or the deep learning. Then how we can able to reduce the entire cycle time. Cycle time, that means what are the steps to be followed from the input, we come to a conclusion, and those conclusion will be again a sort of an input there. So this comes out to be the entire cycle. In between we have certain processes. In the next slide you will come to that processes also. So we want that the reduction in entire cycle time. And once you will reduce the entire cycle time, of course somewhere we are reducing the overall cost also, because that is also one of the major issues in this pandemic of the cost reductions. Then when we talk about the clusters concepts, we have first one is the data mining, and the second one is the perceptions process, and last one is the automate summarized. Automate summarize means once the entire input with all the processings over there, then automatically it will come with a sort of a conclusion, summarized my sign and symptoms, and will come to a sort of a conclusions. And this conclusion sometimes also have the results in terms of a medication process also. So here one can able to find it out that what all resources are really required, which patients really require immediate attention, which patients can have some time, so that the experts, if we are having a lack in that, so experts can have more attentions to the severe patients other than the other ones. Otherwise, in general cases, it comes out to be in first come, first serve basis. This is actually the respiratory awareness system framework. This is what we have proposed in one of the conference. Excuse me. From the data environment, we are taking the data. Naturally, data comes out to be in unsupervised manner, and there we will find out a lot of the data. From that, it comes out to be the form of a data warehouse, where we are trying right from the scratch onwards to get classified there. Though it is not properly classified, but we are just making our prelim effort to have a classifications at the level of the data warehouses, so that we can keep the data in the different data warehouse. From those data warehouses, we are trying to perform certain techniques of the data mining to extract the hidden patterns. Once those hidden patterns can get extracted, it can divided into different clusters. That cluster is actually directly clubbed with the respiratory awareness systems. In the meantime, we have certain processes. That processes is actually the respiratory intelligence. Now, what is the actual meaning of the respiratory intelligence? We have certain either the rule-based, or we have certain machine learning and the deep learning concepts, where we can extract certain model. Remember one thing over here, that this model might varies from person to person. It totally depends upon the data which they are having right now. So that model will get vary. That model may have different features of the machine learning, or if it is somewhat gets to be in depth there, then there will be have the deep learning. Then it's have an embedded with the NLPs, that is the natural language processing, with the statistical analysis and the predictive analysis. So combinedly these all with the informations of the respiratory system. And of course, these respiratory systems informations will be provided by the experts of the pulmonary expertised persons. So those all will be clubbed to form a sort of an expert support system. This expert support systems will have a input and as well as a by communications with the cognitive process. This is what right now we have discussed, that what type of the process we have the adoptions with respect to the cognitive. From where we people are getting the informations, we are getting the informations from the patients. So initially when I am getting informations from the patients will undergo certain all these tests, and then this particular test results will automatically comes in the input. So patients inputs are not one at a time, but it is an iterative process. And how it can be performed by the help of the certain agents are there. So we have the decision agents, expert support systems agents are there. Then we have the cognitive agents, and we have the certain human agents also, that what type of the behavior we are actually having in front of the experts, or what type of our behavior is actually as one of the input which is provided by our family members or by our caretakers. So these are actually the things, because some of the times the patients are not aware about the things, so the caretakers give certain informations. So these all informations will become the part, and sometimes it might be a possibility if somebody is not aware about these things, that is, a person is suffering from the respiratory problem, or a person is suffering from certain other problems, but these entire cognitive process combinedly can give me an idea that this may be one of the possibility. So this is the respiratory awareness system framework. And then this is the entire cognitive computing process, which is having the patient's informations. Now, what type of the informations we can collect? We can collect the data, daily routine. We can collect the family statistics, self medical history, and the social statistics also. So why the social statistics? Because somewhere that entire community or entire region is affected by a certain problem. So that comes out to be in terms of one of input. Then cognitive computing analysis is there. We have the input analysis, symptomatic analysis, prognostic analysis, and the prescriptive analysis. That means we are performing all the four types of the analysis. First analysis, we are having the inputs. On the basis of that inputs, we are performing the analyzing it and finding out why these all things happen. Then from that points, we are trying to find it out what are the symptoms over there. That means we are actually diagnosing the things. From the diagnosis, then we are finding out that what sort of the diseases may be there. So that is the prognostic will be there. And the last one is there, if we come to a conclusion that this is actually the problem a person is suffering, and this is due to all these impacts having on the patients, so we will try to prescribe certain medications. Here I just want to quote one thing, that this is with the person who is right now affected with the COVID, or who is suffering with the others also. Because if we all know this thing, if a patient is suffering from any one disease, it's not necessary that he or she is stuck with that disease only. Might be some of the other things which are actually affecting the patient. So this is the point where we can have the input from various sources, and from the various sources we can perform the analysis. Once you perform the analysis, then we come on to the concepts of the analytics. That analytics will somehow tells me that what will be the future of it. If it's not get controlled right now, what will be the future? So it gets related not only with one sign and symptoms, but it can be get related and have a sort of a Bayesian sort of in a network, where we can find it out a complete path from one symptoms to the other to the third one, and then so on. So this is actually the complete cognitive computing analysis is there. Then on the basis of that point, we have to define a model. Right now, just told you that the model varies from the inputs, or from patients to patients, or from person to person, or in generality from input to the input. We have to change the models over there. Then the cycle is that You have perceptions, that is the cognitive perceptions. On the basis of your knowledge base, naturally one additional impact will be there of an expert, that means of a specialized. Sometimes it is also said to the person that we come on to for a second opinion. That means this is the one opinion of one of the experts, let me go with all the inputs and can have a second opinion. So here we can have a cognitive perceptions which is based on the other features, because being a human being, what happens that sometimes we just omit one very important feature by just have a perception that this particular symptom is not having so much impact on these parts. So that is the cognitive perception is there. On the basis of that particular perceptions, its recommendation process will be there. That recommendation process will have an optimizations method. This optimization method will somewhere optimize the entire decision process. On the basis of that decision process, of course, it generates a new data, and this new data will again become a sort of a patient's information. So this is the entire sort of in a cycle. In between we have to undergo certain tests also. So there I have used the concepts of the IoT, that is the some important devices which are having the impact on embedded impact on the analysis part, and then performing the process, cognitive process, this particular cycles. In the previous slide which where I wrote to have a reduction in the cycle time. So this is how we can able to perform the reductions. It won't be necessary that you have to complete the entire process. In between only, if something optimizations happen there, you can just check it over there and again from enter onto the cognitive computing process. That process will again come onto the optimization and can generate a new data, so that automatically the updations process continues. So this is the cognitive computing process. What are the cognitive agents? Other agents are also there, but we have the cognitive agents which is having the perceptions. That is of course depends upon the knowledge base. Then NLP. NLP is of course somewhere the natural language processing is there, but somewhere certain speech or the voice recognition is also important. For example, suppose if I say, what is the time right now? Say my language is a polite way, my pitch is a polite. So you can just tell me that it's right now 12:30. But suppose if you are sitting in front of your boss and if you say, what is the time right now? So pitch is high. So that means somewhere we are warning to some of the authorities there. So line is same, natural language processing concept is same, but their interpretations is different. So that interpretation is sometimes depends upon the pitch or the some depends upon the speech also. So that NLP is having both the things. Sometimes if I say ha theek hai, and then if I say ha theek hai, so natural language tells the meaning or the impact is same, but the pitch is having a difference over there. So this is also one of the thing which is having the requirement of the in the cognitive agents. Then the reasoning is there, why we came to that conclusions, we have a certain reasons there. On the basis of that certain reasons, we can say that certain text processing. Air pollution, this air pollution is very important because this is one of the feature which is not considered. We just tell us that okay, air pollution बहुत है, but nobody tells us that बहुत means what, because this बहुत is one qualitative concepts or the adjective, and it varies from person to person. And then memory related process, that is the demographic, environment, medical history, educational background, and the contextual is there. So these all will play an important role there, that where we people are living, what's our education, how we are treating the other people who is suffering from certain disease, what sort of the medication process we are actually giving to them. If we try to give more medicines to a patient, sometimes it's becoming the adverse impact on the patients also, though the health is good, but the other features will somewhere have the reduction in the good health of the patient. So these are the agent functions, that is the logic base is there. Whenever you come onto a conclusion, there may be one of the logic behind it. That means certain reasonings will be there. Then reactive agents are there. That means certain mappings must be required. And this is very important part where you must have a mapping of the actions where symptoms can be get mapped to each other. That means they must have certain relationships with each other. For the relationships, we can use the concepts of the correlations also, whether they have a negative, whether they are not correlated, they have a positive correlations. Then we have the belief, desire, and intention agents. That means the decisions are based on the healthcare authorities, the rules and regulations which we are getting. The layered architecture will be there. Somewhere we have to make the architecture that at what all levels we have to perform these things. And very important is that unpredictable situations, even after doing all those things, one can't able to predict that what will happen the next day, especially in the pandemic, because in the second wave the mutations took place just in the 24 hours. So if I am performing any sort of the analysis, it is based on today's data, what will happen on the next data. So we have to be very much keen and attentive on the data which we are getting from the patients. This is one of the technique which we used for predicting these things is the Bayesian techniques. We use the multiple linear regressions on the basis of the prior probability. We construct the posterior probability on the basis of the iterative process, evaluated the marginal likelihood. And then this is all depends upon the statistical analysis, basically using the Bayesian techniques. Then formulate the decisions. It has requirement of the weights renormalizations also. So on the basis of the marginal likelihood, the normalizations took number of the times for the weight renormalizations. Then on the basis of the previous step, the information criteria and the cognitive based model is updated. After the updations, one medication process or the decision process selection will be there, and then find it out that how optimum and the efficient that decision is there. So that is actually the Bayesian technique help there. This is just one of the technique for the illustration in this presentation. Otherwise, we have used certain things. One very important thing which I told you that I will discuss later, that is the human psychology, emotions. This is very important role which has to be played in the recovery process. So the last one, you find it over there, that we have the recovery technique. So technique also plays very important role, and especially when we consider the case of the pandemic, where our near and dear ones are also not coming with us. They are actually having their own protections. So either they are calling or they are having a contact or by the help of your certain mobile apps or the devices. But sometimes the people really require to talk, and for that they feel handicapped and somewhere they demoralized. And once they start demoralizing it, naturally no medication will help them. ये बहुत बार सुना है कि मेडिसिन तो अपना काम कर रही है लेकिन फिर भी वो रिकवरी नहीं हो रही. So somewhere a depression is there, somewhere they are emotionally weak. So now how the technology plays their role, this is we all are familiar with the humanoid, that is a Grace. Basically it's developed in the Hong Kong. It's treated as a sister of the Sophia. She is just like, that is, this humanoid is just like a sort of a nurse which is having the camera, the eyelids movements, lips movements, features changes are there. So these are the certain things when this humanoid visits any sort of any patient, and the patient tries to speak over there. Now see how the role played. When a patient speaks means the humanoid can able to understand what type of the language they are speaking, what is the interpretation. That means they have to perform certain discourse analysis also, that what is the impact. They will also have an impact of their pitch, their emotions, and on the basis of those analysis the Grace is responding. And believe this thing, it's already deployed at some of the hospitals, and they found there is a great vast change in the health of the patients. So that is actually the sentiment analysis. So I haven't covered much of the sentiment analysis over here, because sentiment analysis is having its entire one more, you can say that the complete phase. And the sentiment analysis is actually having the three basic concepts. When we talk, we have a negative sentiments, we have a positive sentiments, and we have the neutral concepts. So we have the different process of it, that is the lexical analysis will be there, and the machine learning concepts will be there. But every time we have to go on the process of this thing, that means the analysis. And on the same time, you can also imagine that when I'm talking something, of course you are grasping then and there itself. The same process has to be performed by a robot. That robot is just like a human, that is why it is to be termed as the humanoid. But naturally what we have to do by camera, basically he is finding out. One more thing is that you might also heard that even if a person is wearing the mask and only the eyelids are moving, the machines are there which can able to judge whether I am laughing, whether I am serious. That means just by the movements of the eyes, naturally one can able to check the emotions. Number of the emotions are there. Somewhere we find it out, the 3,400 emotions are there in the human beings. But won't be necessary that all the emotions can be get judged by a machine. But this machine is actually trying to analyze number of the emotions and trying to reply in that in that manner only, so that the patients can boost up. These are the features. Sorry. These are the features. It's take your temperature and measures your responsiveness. So that means naturally now the healthcare workers should not be the contact with the COVID patients. She can diagnose the patients using the artificial intelligence. Now see, this diagnosis depends not only on the factors or based on the sign and symptoms, but can be based on your emotional impact also. Then she speaks English, Mandarin, and Cantonese, which is right now focusing onto the different languages also, so that humanoid can able to understand the different type of the languages. And one more feature is there: if it's the word is not in the dictionary, they can able to learn the meaning also, as what's generally usually happens in the other packages, that where we can give the concepts that is in the word or something else. So brighten their day with social stimulation. That is what we have discussed. If somebody is depressed or feeling emotionally weak, she can able to enhance those things. Do the therapy, bio readings, and help healthcare providers. This is what therapy means. Number of the therapies which can be done. Maybe a psychological therapy also, and maybe some of the physical therapy also they can do it. They can at the same time take the readings also, and those readings can be directly get connected to certain devices where the processing simultaneously can be performed. Is stuck at home during COVID-19 lockdowns, many people have had their mental states affected with the negative thoughts. So she is going to help you and get rid of your negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts can be get converted into somewhere the neutral, and that neutral can be get somewhere to the positive thoughts. And a beta version of Grace by August, naturally it gets launched already. There are plans to fully deploy next year in locations including Hong Kong, Maryland, China, Japan, and Korea. This is what they are trying to do it. And the cost will be also reduced there, so that it can be a possibility. This is one of the concept of the humanoid with respect to the COVID-19. Even this humanoid can help the old age home also. So the old people who are living alone, they can give you the concepts and they remember. Even they can feed you, they can provide the medicines at time. So these are the humanites, which is also playing an important role in the human, especially the person who is not capable to perform their regular activities. So that is actually the sentiments. This grace is there, but I want to much more emphasize onto the sentiments in the emotional analysis. So this is one of the aspects where the technologies also plays. Uh, this is all from my side. Any queries? Any suggestions?
Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. It was really a honor for me to hear you after almost 30 years. Thank you very much for that.
So thanks to all. Thanks to all the persons who are directly and indirectly involved.
Thank you, ma'am. It was truly an honor to have your presence at this event. I believe our participants, audience, the professors, and everyone else joining us today would agree with me when I say that we got to learn so much from you. The insights that your research covered and the presentation covered were truly something to ponder about. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thanks a lot for giving the opportunity to share the ideas. Thanks a lot.
It was our pleasure, ma'am. So far, we have had a great time and advised to be prepared for our next keynote address and the following sessions. It is always good to take a break and gather our thoughts. We shall see you at 2 o'clock with greater energy and enthusiasm than ever.
मैडम 2 बजे आ जाएगी ना सेकंड
So can I leave?
Sure. Thank you.
तो कॉल हो गया ना अलर्ट कर हमारा है हमारा सेशन तो रिकॉर्डिंग कर
Thank you so much, all. We will see you at 2 o'clock with a fresh start.
now you can
Now you can leave the meeting.